Rockets on a new 4-year deal. But now LA gets DeAndre Ayton on the cheap. Considering that buyout from Portland, now he's in LA. How did all this play out?
So once that buyout happened on Sunday night, it shocked the NBA. For a player of this caliber, former #1 overall pick, to be on the open market, this is a great get for the Lakers in terms of the price. The question is, again, does it take them over the top? Does it make them a true title contender? But it's a 2-year deal, player option on year 2. They found their big man. They found their starter at center. There are a multitude of teams that are interested in him. The Clippers, the Pacers, the Nuggets. He goes to LA, and this gives them the #1 and #3 pick from that 2018 NBA draft. In DeAndre Ayton and Luka Doncic. They get that somewhat of a lob threat defensive anchor, but they know they need DeAndre Ayton to play even better now in LA, because this team around Luka Doncic and LeBron James, they're trying to build to compete for a championship. Today was a step in that direction, getting a center like DeAndre Ayton.
I mean, consider where LeBron is in his career, that window for another championship is about this wide open right now. And Ayton, maybe he'll be revitalized by playing with two guys who may both end up in the Hall of Fame. Sean and his phone, full effect.
Back with you on SportsCenter with more on our breaking news just this hour. Shams Charania reporting that former #1 overall pick DeAndre Ayton cleared waivers and agreed to a deal with the Lakers. 2 years with a player option. He negotiated a buyout with the Blazers because he said he wanted to play for a winner, and there was apparently some stiff competition to get him. But alas, he's in Hollywood. And here's what a potential lineup could look like for the Lakers with Ayton sliding into that starting center role. He does, of course, add a much-needed size to a Lakers team that ranked in the bottom third of the league in rebounding percentage last season. Let's bring in our front office insider, Bobby Marks, for much more on this and to break it down. Let's talk about it. How you like the fit, Ayton, with the Lakers?
Yeah, I mean, considering where they were about 10 hours ago, it's certainly an improvement here. I mean, we had Jared Vanderbilt as their starting center, and no offense to Jared Vanderbilt, but he's better served coming off the bench. Ayton was the best available center that was left in the free agent market, certainly coming off that buyout here. I think 82% of the shots are field goal percentage at the rim last year. I think the one concern for me, El, is not really a paint presence as far as blocking shots, less than 1 last year in Portland here, but certainly fills a need, something the Lakers needed. There's still some work to do, especially for that bench. They need some perimeter shooting, but it's a good start for an offseason that started off a little bit slow here.
Yeah, a good start. I would say the odds makers are not overwhelmed by the moves, because their odds, the Lakers, to win the Western Conference moved from plus 1,000 to plus 900 with the Ayton acquisition. Let's go over to Milwaukee, because we know they've lost 2 of their key pieces. Damian Lillard, Brook Lopez are both gone. They did land Miles Turner, but one anonymous exec told ESPN this move is, quote, reckless. What are your thoughts on the offseason that they're having?
I don't know if I'd go reckless. I'd say probably more desperate. I mean, I think when you look at where Milwaukee was, and listen, they took the Damian Lillard money and they stretched it out over 5 years. It's basically, Al, if I gave you a credit card and said you had 0% interest on it, but you had to pay 40% in years 2 to 5 when you start paying something, that's where the cost is going to hit Milwaukee here, is that it's not about the future, it's about the now for Milwaukee. When you add Miles Turner to this roster in Milwaukee, they'll figure it out, the dead cap hit down the road here, but it's something they had to do. They didn't have many options at all when you look at their roster and the lack of draft equity here. That was really their lone big move, was to take that Lillard money, stretch it out, and going out and get a player like Miles Turner.
If you gave me a credit card with no limit, by the way, and then said I would have to pay 40% of taxes before that hit, I would probably get a new Social Security and go into witness protection. Bobby Marks, thank you so much for your...
Lakers have been relatively quiet to open the offseason and adding pieces around Luka and LeBron, but now they had a 26-year-old former #1 pick coming off a solid season in Portland. But I want to get your take on this move.
I can't believe he's only 26. That blows my mind. It feels like he's been in the league forever. This was like the worst kept secret in the league, Kiana. I mean, there were some rumblings about maybe DeAndre Ayton would go to Indiana after Miles Turner left, but it always felt like the real preferred destination was going to end up as the Lakers. And I think it would have gotten done sooner, but as you mentioned, he had to clear waivers for his free agency started on Monday, and then yesterday was day 2. So we had to wait through waivers today. He clears, he ends up in LA, and it addresses a big issue for the Lakers. Don't forget last year, they were basically starting Jackson Hayes at center, but that was really in name only. They'd start him, and then J.J. Redick would yank him out of there, and you got a lot of small ball 5 last year after they traded for Luka with LeBron at the 5 and also Dorian Finney-Smith. Well, Dorian Finney-Smith left, went to Houston, so then that takes away one of your, actual functional centers. So they get DeAndre Ayton in there. He'll be a nice lob threat for them. It's a 1-and-1, but this isn't really so much about this year as this is, if it works out with DeAndre Ayton, great for the Lakers, but if not, they can walk away in the same way that once LeBron picked up his option, they can move off of him next offseason if they so choose, and it will open up a ton of cap space for the Lakers as they try to figure out what they want to be moving forward and how they're going to build around Luka long term. Because look, they were the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, in a loaded Western Conference last year. Good for them. They're going to have designs on competing again this year, but they're probably still pretty far off, even with signing DeAndre Ayton from the OKCs of the world. I love what the Rockets have done. The Nuggets really helped bolster their bench and their starting unit by getting Cam Johnson. So the Lakers, they get Ayton, they address a need in the center, but still probably a tier below those other teams.
Well, now, you brought it up because I was saying we can't talk about the Lakers without addressing the elephant in the room. They're building for the future. LeBron clearly wants to win a championship, and it's possible that those two things don't go hand in hand as the focus now shifts to building around Luka. So in your mind, what's next for LA?
Yeah, well, they could still use some more shooting, right? But they end up replacing Dorian Finney-Smith with Jake LaRavia. I know that they said that they were targeting Jake LaRavia. I don't think anybody has ever targeted Jake LaRavia. Congrats, Jake, on being targeted for the first time in your career. But ultimately, this is kind of one of those things where they're going to see where they are and come along slowly here. Maybe there's a couple of veteran minimums out there that they can add to this team. But really, for the Lakers, again, it's about next season. If they keep their powder dry, Kiana, this season, and they don't trade their 2031 first round pick, they could potentially have their 2031 plus their 2033 first round picks in the offseason that they could package with all that cap space that'll be coming off their books if and when LeBron James decides to leave. That'd be like $52 million that comes off. So now all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of things that you could put together and say, okay, well, how can we reposition this team around Luka moving forward? Because look, LeBron is still amazing, right? He made second team All-NBA last year, but he's going to be 41 in December, so he's got another year, maybe 2 left. Whereas Luka at 26, they're in it for the long term for him. So it just makes sense from a team-building perspective for the Lakers to go, okay, let's slow roll this thing, let's see where we are, and then next offseason is going to be the major moves.
It's all about looking ahead, maybe not necessarily this year, but what happens the following year. But hey, as we talk about building around Luka, the Lakers reportedly interested in Damian Lillard after his release from the Bucks, along with the Warriors. That's another team who's emerged in the mix. Now, both teams already set at point guard, but how do you see this maybe playing out for Lillard as he spends this next year recovering from that Achilles injury?
Yeah, the Warriors thing is interesting, Kiana, right? Because he's a Bay Area guy. He can go back to the Warriors. I know you like that. But for Lillard, I don't know that this really necessarily matters. I don't know that he needs to go out there and rush and attach himself to a team, right? Because he's going to be rehabbing, and that's really a pretty solitary pursuit. And when he's done,